Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Straight Talk stream. I am your host, SESvince, and my co-host, Basharat. Bosh, we're back talking basketball, even though we said we weren't going to do it for a while.
Basketball, yeah, we're here for the big news. The that Dan Harmon's working on that Community movie, and Donald Glover's coming back for it, right? I
Oh,
mean, it's
100%.
exciting,
That's
exciting stuff, man.
that's number one subject on the agenda tonight.
Childish Gambino back on the small screen. Can't wait.
No, but in all seriousness, guys, we are here to talk about the big blockbuster trade that just happened yesterday.
Shit, dude, I did
Damian,
all my preparation for that Community movie. I don't know.
it's okay, it's okay. We'll wing it. We'll improvise as we go along. But like I said, Damian Lillard finally was traded from the Portland Trailblazers, heading over to the Milwaukee Bucks of all places, which we all kind of assumed that Miami was going to be the number one destination going forward. And once he started hearing some rumblings the last couple days this week that the Raptors were interested, maybe the Bulls could be a team that was interested as well. However, the team that ended up getting them was the Milwaukee Bucks. And before we go into the details of the trade itself, because I called you to let you know about the trade, see if you guys found out about it. What are your initial reactions about it?
I mean, yeah, I had not. For once, I was like off of social media and everything, and not getting any. Didn't have my athletic notifications turned on, so I was pretty shocked when you said, because you just opened with there's a Woj Shams bomb, and I thought like, no way, the Bulls did not get into this after all, did they? But no, when you told me about the trade, I was surprised that it was Milwaukee because I did I did think there was a better than 50% chance that it would
Mm-hmm.
be somewhere other than Miami. Just because Miami, clearly Portland was annoyed at how Miami went about things. Miami was kind of trying to big time them with
Yeah.
the somebody else said that they were acting like LA. I think it was probably like Philly Bryce to Ricky Sanchez pod or
Mm-hmm.
someone where they're like, oh no, he wants to come here. We want him. It's just going to happen. You'll take what we give you. But even LA wound up having to give New Orleans everything for
Yeah.
Anthony Davis, like every single thing. So I didn't think it would be Miami unless it went into the season and Portland was not able to get a better offer because I mean that's what happens is teams time goes on and teams will jump into the mix or they'll have an injury and decide they need to replace that or they'll be better than they expected and they'll jump in. So I did think it would be somewhere else. I was more expecting something along the lines of say maybe Philly, after working out some sort of Harden deal or like Toronto had jumped in the mix. I didn't really think that was a realistic option, but maybe if because New York, the Knicks have a bunch of picks.
Right.
Dame doesn't really fit what they need, but obviously he's Dame Lillard. They also could have moved those picks in like another deal, and then that team might have wanted to reroute them to Damian Lillard. So that would be like a way that I thought maybe the Knicks would work into it. I was not expecting Milwaukee.
So in terms of fit, Milwaukee just made us so much sense. But given that Dame had a preference to go to Miami, we knew that his priority to want to leave Portland first and foremost was to prioritize winning a championship, which unfortunately to this point of his career he has yet to happen for Damian Lillard. And honestly, I think this is a win-win situation for not only Milwaukee but also Damian Lillard because this reeks of trying to appease Giannis, especially after all the talk he's been having this offseason about if
Yeah,
the
you have to wonder if Giannis's little, well, my goal is to, be committed to a championship, and if they're not as committed as I am, like, did
yeah.
that spur them into higher action? And I mean, you think back to getting Drew Holiday in the first place. That was when Giannis's extension was coming up. I believe he hadn't yet signed it, and they made the Drew Holiday trade at that point, and that's when he extended his contract. They obviously won the championship a year later. So yeah, maybe it's Giannis, different ownership group, but
Mhm.
learning that, his little bit of pressure, a little bit of words from him could spur management into action. Or maybe they would have done this all along because it does make a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense, but it kind of just comes with very little risk. If we'll go into the details, like I said, but it makes so much sense for Damian Lillard because now he gets to play for a championship contender, which is what he wanted. Granted, he preferred Miami as a destination, but I think this is a much better landing spot for him basketball wise. The rest of his contract kind of lines up with a little bit of Giannis's contract, so the timeline for him and the rest of this Bucks
Before we
roster.
jump into what Milwaukee is, how they're going to look and why he fits there, why do you think he preferred Miami to all else? Because there were places like Philly, that he made perfect sense in as well. So what do you think?
I think it's just the simple fact that Miami has been to 2 finals in the last 4 years, are a well-run organization inside and out. You have a solid team around the Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and a bunch of role players. You look at how they
So it
got
wasn't
and
a James Harden. You don't think the strip clubs were better in Miami, and that's why
No, I
South
don't think
Beach?
so. No,
Yeah,
maybe the recording studios are probably better in Miami,
I did.
but
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true. He will have access to a lot of a
exactly.
lot of good scenery too for
For
some
sure.
music videos.
For sure, exactly. So I don't know. I just never saw like Philly as that much better of an option than Miami, given the simple fact that look, they're a mess right now, and then it would take so much effort to make a 3-team trade involving Harden and Damian Lillard work. Given that,
Certainly, certainly.
yeah,
But I mean, he's not worried about logistics. Players never are. They're just like, get me there. I want to go there. Like Harden wants to go to the Clippers. He doesn't care about logistics. So I don't think that was it. I think what you did mention, the recording space, dude. He wanted to collab with Pitbull, and that's obviously no. What I do think is like, yes, they've been to 2 straight finals, and I think the team does fit pretty perfectly around him. Like you said, they're a well-run organization that's proven over multiple different roster variations that they want to desperately compete for championships and will do whatever to do so. Aside from a few luxury tax-saving moves during the LeBron era, but leaving that aside, I think the main reason is he looked at Miami as again a team that was a contender without him,
right.
but was clearly not going to win a championship without him, right? And when he comes into Miami, he's definitely the number one star. Like as good as Jimmy Butler is,
Hmm.
Damian Lillard is the draw, especially on offense. He's going to be the spotlight. Like the offense is going to be geared to what Damian Lillard can do, and Jimmy and will fit around him. Whereas if he goes anywhere else, you know, he, he may be either seen as latching on to the pre-existing star like Joel Embiid in Philly, and so I wonder, like in Milwaukee, how happy, like you're right, the tandem's perfect. He's never had a
Right.
teammate, forget about as good as Giannis, even close to as good as Giannis. I'm sorry, CJ McCollum, I don't even think he made an all-star team and shouldn't
He
have.
he he never did. No. Well,
And
I think. Well, the question here is: was the last season in Portland Aldridge, the LaMarcus Aldridge, better than CJ McCollum?
yeah, LaMarcus was people forget now, but he was like an absolute killer. He was one of the few people that should shoot from mid-range because he was devastating from mid-range. In fact, I remember with the Spurs, right after he left Portland, he dominated playoff games from the mid-range. Teams couldn't handle it.
Yeah, he was 7 footer that can shoot for the mid range and
Efficiently, because a lot of players can
efficiently.
shoot from the mid range, but to shoot at a high enough clip to make the mid range shot a better option than a rim or 3-pointer is what the key is. And that's why, like, people talk about the mid range game and why it's gone away. It's not really because people can't shoot from mid range, it's because you have to be such an extremely good mid range shooter to convert high enough to make it a better option than taking a layup, floater, or 3-pointer.
Yeah. No,
And
hundred
yeah, no.
percent.
So Lamarcus was definitely, but he would be the best. Dame wasn't to where he is, obviously, but even Lamarcus then doesn't compare to Giannis, who multiple MVP winner.
Yeah, no, and then you flip it over onto the to Giannis side. Dame's the best player he's ever played with, and
And Giannis has
obviously,
won a championship already
yeah,
without that.
yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah,
Well, look, what was it? Yeah, 3 years ago, three off seasons ago, Giannis was getting ready to like hit the free agency market. They they made the trade for Drew Holiday, then he signed the extension. Now he's coming up to his free agency in what, like in 2 off seasons from now. And he's been very vocal this offseason about making improvements and making sure that everyone's committed and focused on winning the championship just like he is. And if not, that he'd be going elsewhere. So the ownership group right here is going ahead and made another move. And if you look at the details, and we'll start off there with Milwaukee side of things, it's just a straight up acquisition of Damian Lillard, but they had to give up Drew Holiday for not only for salary purposes, but because it'd be the same position that he
Well,
be
I think
playing.
Damon Drew would fit great
They
together.
would fit together.
Like right now, one of the landing spots potential, which we'll get to later for Drew, if you talk about say Golden State, right? Him and him and Steph would fit excellently together. I think the problem is Milwaukee wasn't able to give up enough in terms of young players and draft picks. When we look at this,
Hmm.
they gave up some good ones, but what they're counting on is Drew's value is high enough that it
Yeah.
will get them more.
All right. So, like I said, Milwaukee receives Damian Lillard. All they have to really give up is Grayson Allen, Drew Holiday, a 2029 unprotected first round pick, and the 2028 and 30 pick swaps, unprotected pick swaps to Portland. So we'll see what those picks look like in 5 years' time. But then the little wrinkle here is the addition of Phoenix, and they throw in DeAndre Ayton and Tumani Kamara.
One of the great basketball names.
Was
He
was
may
he was he on Phoenix or was he
he was on
on?
Phoenix. He was on
Okay,
Phoenix.
so
Yeah, I'm
so
not
he
familiar with
moves.
him. He may just end up being one of those great names to remember. The Darius Sangaila or whatever else pops to mind. But yeah,
Yeah,
we'll see.
right. So they only really had to give up those guys in exchange for four potential rotation players. I say potential because at least half of these guys will make the rotation. You have Yusuf Nurkic. Obviously, we saw rumors of him being linked because new head coach of the Phoenix Suns wants someone like Yusuf Nurkic to anchor their defense. And honestly, I don't really see Nurkic as like a defensive like presence like he used to be back in Portland a few years back before the leg injury.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Is Nurkic, I've been a fan of since the Bulls, drafted him to trade him for, let's not get into
Yeah.
it. But he's been great, and he was supplanted by Nikola Jokic. Unfortunate for him, but the trade worked out. He was great fit in Portland. Went to the playoffs. Their defense was phenomenal with him. But before the broken leg, since then, he's not been able to reach the same kind of, he's limited now in
Right.
seems physically in how much he can move out, cover up to the 3-point line, get back to the paint, the sort of important stuff that in a modern, offense, you have to be able to cover on defense. And it seems like he can't move around as well. His offense has dipped a bit. So unfortunately, yeah, I wonder if he'll be the answer. Maybe now a little bit more removed from the injury, a little bit less responsibility on his
Yeah.
shoulders. Phoenix can play small a lot. Maybe he will fit what they need. We'll see.
Yeah. Well,
Like in Portland, he couldn't, like they couldn't sit him. They didn't
no.
really have any other Jeremy Grant in some situations, but then they were even thinner at the forward spots.
Yes, for sure. So Yusuf Nurkic looks to be slotted in as the new center for the Phoenix Suns. They also acquired Grayson Allen. It's probably the youngest player there. I will not say anything positive about Grayson Allen,
And Nas
except
Little.
Nars Little. I
Yeah.
like
The
Keon.
positive about Grayson Allen is that now at least the Bulls' risk of injury from Grayson Allen has been reduced by half.
The
So
positive of Grayson Allen moving from Milwaukee to Phoenix is that I wasn't rooting for the Phoenix Suns anyways, and he was the sole reason why I wasn't rooting for Milwaukee the last two seasons. Now I can wholeheartedly say I'll be rooting
okay,
for Milwaukee.
yeah, but does that outweigh the counterpoint of what happened in last year's playoffs, which was so worth watching? The hilarity of ending their season with the ball in Grayson Allen's hands as all time runs out and he doesn't even get the shot up. That was pretty great. I think
Oh, that was an
Grayson
amazing
Allen's
moment.
value was pretty high for comedy purposes there.
Oh, 100%. Shout out to Justin from the Get Show podcast, the homie Just. He's in the chat saying, "What's up? What's up, Justin? We're here talking Damian Lillard." So, not only that, but they also get Keon Johnson. So, like I said, Nasir Little, Keon Johnson looks to be like those kind of guys that are on the bubble of maybe cracking the rotation, but that's kind of like along the lines of what Phoenix has done this offseason. It's just collect a bunch of guys and hoping that at least one or two of those guys like hit and that should become rotational players because they have a bunch of guys.
And not just that, it may even be more of, I mean, people have talked about this a lot, but they had the one big contract for DeAndre Ayton, whose value around the league didn't seem high. He's a center whose values are already like pretty depleted.
Mm-hmm.
B, he's had that disappointment. He's wanted to be the main guy, et cetera, et cetera. With all those issues and his contract numbers, he wasn't as much of a value for them looking for a trade. But now they broke up that contract essentially into smaller contracts that could either help them
Yeah.
or they did a lot of weird moves over the offseason. Not weird, but odd looking. they make sense when you look at them, but they gave up a lot of pick swaps that they had left of the picks that they had already swapped out picks. They gave up additional pick swaps in order to get some second round draft capital that they could just attach so that they could actually trade something because they couldn't really
Yeah.
do much more. And so now maybe they're hoping they can, bundle some of those seconds with one or two of their little mid to small contracts here that they got. And also Nas Little's pretty good, man. I mean, he had some injury issues and a little bit of trouble coming back from it, but he was pretty promising. He's on a decent contract. He extended, if you remember, we talked about his extension on the old pod, and he extended at a reasonable number with Portland. So, that could be a value for them too.
He could be a solid front court player that could have 3-and-D potential for them. So, like I said, he's one of those guys similar to like a Mo Bamba that you're just like, maybe he'll hit, maybe
Right.
he'll become a rotational player. So, the main reason here, obviously, you're going to downgrade here from DeAndre Ayton to Yusuf Nurkic, but
Yeah.
it's an addition by subtraction because there were so many issues with DeAndre Ayton and former coach Monty Williams that it kind of became like what's the word I'm looking for? It was distracting.
Not just it just hung over the team, and it just cast a shadow over everything. You have to think that with all those problems, some of them extended into the locker room. Who knows if they're the players that they would have extended to were still in the Suns locker room. But regardless, clearly these guys are a bunch of veterans who've teamed up to chase, greatness and glory. They're not going to want someone who's not fully bought into that, right?
Yeah.
So that probably it works out. It makes sense from Phoenix's side. Like you said, it's a talent downgrade, but that also helped the trade work because for Portland, that's a pretty decent gamble for them. Like, why have an aging Yusuf Nurkic with no upside potential? They wanted to get off that contract, by the way, and that's
Yeah.
partly why, because Miami wasn't going to take him back. That's partly why this trade works better for Portland. Also, is they're now out of the Yusuf Nurkic contract. They can either play Ayton and see if he fits with their young core. Give them, he's a bit of a veteran now, so he gives them, someone who's actually been a successful NBA player at some point and been to the playoffs. In the front court, somebody they could throw the ball to for their young guards to play pick and roll off of. So he works out a lot better for them.
I honestly do love this trade for Portland, and I've seen a lot of people just kind of like talk down on this trade, be down on it in general for the simple fact that I'm like, oh, you didn't really get any young guys. Yeah, you got an unprotected pick from Milwaukee, but it's Milwaukee. And then you kind of like weigh the comparisons between Miami and Milwaukee. There's a much better chance that Milwaukee flops, Giannis dips, so does Dame Lillard, and then they relegated to like a bottom feeding like
Right.
franchise.
Not
They're
only are
one
they
bad injury away from one of those picks being really good.
well, even if they're not injured, like they could just naturally age out. And Milwaukee, like you said, is not. They're not the draw. So for even if they have the same management, is your Milwaukee's not luring free agents the way that Miami is,
Yeah.
especially if Giannis or Dame are on the downswing, and they're just not going to have the easy rebuild option like Miami could and has had multiple players go to, you know, not just Shaq and then LeBron and Bosh, and since then with Butler and Kevin Durant wanting to go there, and that's even when they didn't have anybody else to really build around. People still want to go to South Beach and still
Yeah.
want to play for the Heat. And Milwaukee, that's less of a chance. Like you said, they're fully unprotected, so you control their drafts for 3 years. Like for Portland, in that time frame, you want to think 28 to 30. They're probably hoping that at that point, 4 or 5 years from now, they'll be in the mix of things, and they have a pretty good shot at being better record wise than the Bucks. And even if the Bucks aren't terrible, that pick swap could still net them like 5 to 6 spots up in the draft order.
Yeah. So you look at like the best way I look at this is like the best offer that the Heat probably were gonna give was Tyler Hero, Kyle Lowry, Jaime Jaquez, and Nikola Jovic, and then like maybe one or two unprotected picks or pick swaps or what have you. You get 3 picks here essentially. You get the fantastic name of Tomani Kamara. Am I
You
pronouncing?
always need one of these names in these big trades. They don't
Yes.
work without them, man,
Yeah.
because you just don't capture the imagination of the opposing GMs without this. How do you
Yeah.
make a 3-team deal work unless you've got one of those names involved?
Exactly. DeAndre Ayton and then Drew Holiday. Honestly, between DeAndre Ayton and Tyler Hero, I like Ayton a little bit more. in terms of what he could be, his upside. They're both locked in long term, obviously. You already have a bunch of guards in Portland. You have Shaden Sharp. You have you just drafted Scoot Henderson. You have help me out here.
Are you talking about Anthony Simons?
Anthony
Yeah,
Simons. So you have guard depth.
yeah,
What you don't have is a front court guy that can grow with your guys. I
exactly. And that's where Nurkic didn't make any sense, as an aging,
Yeah.
injured, like not, it just, yeah. You don't want to eat up those. I mean, he'd be okay on that team, but
Hmm.
they definitely have a little bit more upside with DeAndre. At least he has a potential of getting back to that level he was at when the Suns made their finals run.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to JLan on the beat. Justin out there in the chat saying what's up. He was in our last episode. Actually, he was on the curtain call with us talking
Yeah, man,
NBA
it was fun
jerseys.
chatting up jerseys with him.
Yeah, for sure. And then the
Even though
last piece,
he stole my Orlando Magic pick, but that's cool. That's
he
cool.
man, we all had similar taste in that episode. The last edition here is Drew Holiday, and you don't really see Drew Holiday as a guy that's going to stick with this team long term. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets flipped before training camp or even before the start of the regular season.
I mean, dude, the way the talk is breaking down, like he could be flipped this week.
Yeah,
The only thing Portland can't do is aggregate him according to the CBA and trade rules. They can't combine him with other players on their own roster going out in a trade. They, at least not for the next, I think, month or so.
yeah.
They can get multiple players back for him though, so they could trade Drew Holiday and get multiple players back. They can't include, say, I don't know, Anthony Simons with
Yeah,
him or whatever to get a bigger player. They can only send him out if they want to do the trade within the next month.
or like another option, like if they were wait, they can't pair up Jeremy Grant and Drew Holiday together
Right,
to like
right.
get off of Jeremy Grant's contract. But that
Man,
that could be
Jeremy
an
Grant somewhere down the road, that could get them something too. I know he's at a
yeah.
big number, but like he's a valuable player who can play. He can defend the three like pretty well, and he can play up and play center for you too. That's
No. I like Jeremy Grant as a player, not for that number, however. But
Yeah,
I like
the
this
number's a
trade.
bit much.
I like this trade. I like what they acquired, and obviously the trade isn't fully finished because they're gonna flip Drew Holiday for someone. Once they flip Drew Holiday and you see what they're gonna get in return, that's really where you can sit there and assess the trade value and compare it to whatever someone like Miami was offering in terms of like Tyler Hero picks and like one or two of their young guys, and including Kyle Lowry for salary purposes. I like this. DeAndre Ayton, I don't know if you saw it or not, but he was playing 2K. He already switched teams on
Oh,
2K.
did he? I didn't see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Someone shared a clip on Twitter saying that he already had Trailblazers jersey on or something.
Damn.
So shout out to TC. He made a joke saying that this is why he's a problem because he's out here playing. He's on the game when he should be in the gym like a week before training camp starts, and he's
You
not
got
wrong.
time to do both, man. You're not just in the gym 24/7, bro. You come back, you gotta sit down. You can play a video game. It's all right.
Yeah, we'll see,
I
but
don't think I don't think this has been the problem. I'll just say
no,
that.
no. But overall, I think this is a solid,
It's like,
solid
sorry, it's like
trade
those
for
dudes who
everyone.
post the Insta videos, the 100 videos of like Ben Simmons hitting threes or whatever. He's
Uh-huh.
not doing that all off season. You saw like the 1 hour he's doing that. That doesn't tell you this dude is actually in the gym working hard. He just made a
Exactly.
video that one time. We'll see.
Yeah. So overall, the Bucks roster probably looks like Damian Lillard, Pat Connaughton, Chris Middleton, Giannis, and Brook Lopez, but you still have guys like Bobby Portis coming off the bench. They did lose Javon Carter, and they no longer have Drew Holiday, obviously, because of his inclusion in this trade. So their perimeter defense is gonna be an issue. However, this is a well-rounded defensive team to shore up some of Dame's deficiencies on that end.
Yeah, some of Dame. Dame is, I mean, he's a small guard and he's not good on defense. Like, so he's like already physically limited a bit defensively. And that's what it's really interesting to me. Perimeter defense wise, like I think Chris Middleton's health is going to be a lot more key, man. And he wasn't the player he has been basically since that knee injury like 2 years ago, especially on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Last year he wasn't that. They needed Drew. Drew has been their glue. People are underestimating how good Drew Holiday was defensively. Yes, he had his problems, in the offense, especially in the postseason since they won the championship, but defensively he was able to guard the small ball handlers, the initiators of the opposing offense, but also the big wings. Like he's been taking the bigger wings. It's not
Yeah.
Giannis who guards them. Giannis is a help defender. He comes out and gets the help side blocks, or he switches onto the bigger guys when Brooke has to be switched out onto the perimeter, because of a pick and roll or whatever. So Giannis is able to cover for him. So yes, the interior defense is great, but the Bucks defense wasn't just Brooke and Giannis. That's a big part of it. But to allow Giannis to roam, before it was Middleton who was able to take on a lot of those assignments. As he got less and less able to, Drew Holiday, has been a great addition for them. So now you have a more limited Middleton. You don't have Drew Holiday anymore. I'm really curious to see how their defense is going to be organized, because even their starting lineup. Because look, you put Dame, people will say, "Oh, like Malik Beasley is probably who they were going to start, right? Because of the shooting he provides."
Yeah.
Malik Beasley provides you nothing else. So I mean, I like Malik Beasley. I wanted the Bulls to get him because he puts up shots, right? I mean, there was that when he got traded to the Lakers, there was that like off-court conversation they had on like ESPN or TNT or whatever, where the coach was telling him to put up the shots, and he was like, "Yeah, that's what he told me. I'm gonna put him up." But he doesn't do anything else, especially on defense. So you can't have Dame and Beasley, in my opinion, as your starting lineup, unless Middleton is really up to par. And even then, I mean, how good is he going to be guarding small guards? I
No.
guess your like your front court defense, your big guys are just going to lock that paint down.
It's gonna have to be either that, or I feel like they're putting a lot of stock on Pat Connaughton being like their perimeter guy defensively, and that's a
It's
tall
a lot.
task to
Yeah, it's a
ask of
lot.
one guy. There's got to be some trades here that they can still make to shore up some perimeter defense. There are going to be a team that's going to be looking into the buyout market after the trade deadline, after the All-Star break.
Oh yeah,
So
prime destination.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, like this would have been a good scenario for Patrick Beverly to end up in if he didn't go to
Yeah,
Philly.
yeah.
So this probably was a good landing spot, but
Who would
we'll
have
see.
figured?
We'll see how it goes, regardless of the fact, regardless of the defensive issues they may face throughout the regular season or even in the playoffs. The Milwaukee Bucks, in my opinion, right now have catapulted themselves to top one, if not top two, top three in the Eastern Conference in terms of making it out of the East and winning the title.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that's why it's a no-brainer. I said a lot about their defense, but let's talk about their offense. They're unfucking guardable, man. I mean, you have a Dame Lillard added to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, Chris Middleton's been awesome in the clutch. Like, I think he was way underrated. I saw him. He had like that near half court shot to tie a playoff game, and when the first time they played the Celtics when they were on the rise up, that just showed me like what a balls out clutch player Chris Middleton is, and he has been for them. But that's dropped, and he doesn't approach the level of clutch or shot making ability or off the dribble creation that Damian Lillard can do, and the passing that Damian Lillard has. I mean, this is a player. I mean, who's how much better is Dame than Chris Middleton was at his prime? Like, this is, you can't even say is the best player. Giannis has never played with anyone like this. It's going to be
Never.
awesome. I mean, and their offense was already pretty unstoppable. They beat the shit out of the Bulls. They had no problem with that.
Hey,
They're
we're going to be seeing a lot of Damian
Can you
Lillard and the
imagine? Like,
Bucks.
they won't even have to play one of these players to beat the Bulls from now on. Like, one of them can sit and they'll just annihilate the Bulls anyway.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. So let's move on to the Blazers side of things. Like I said, you have a Drew Holiday. Most likely is going to be started alongside a Scoot Henderson unless he gets dealt
I
prior
feel
to the
like I
start of
feel
the
like you
season.
probably, because they dealt Nas Little too. Maybe you put Simons and Henderson both in the backcourt to both young guards, and put Drew at the three. I don't know. Like, it doesn't matter. They're not trying to win
Ooh,
games.
no, I wouldn't put I wouldn't put a 3 guard lineup to start. But
Again, they're not trying to win games. Who cares?
to each his own. To each his own. We'll see what that starting lineup looks like.
Have Drew guard the best perimeter player, and have the one of the two guards guard the worst, and that's it. Like,
I think 4 out of 5 spots in that starting lineup are locked in, being Drew Holiday, Scoot Henderson, DeAndre Ayton, and Jeremy Grant, for sure.
Yeah.
Matisse Thybulle could be a guy that I can see them like starting at the small forward
Okay.
spot to
He's a
have
bit
some,
bigger.
yeah, have some size, have some defensive ability there in the perimeter, on get some wing guys on there. So we'll see. I like this trade for Portland.
Oh
They're
yeah.
gonna get something for Drew. The question is what?
And they don't have to, and when, because they don't have to deal him right away. Like you said, they can play
No,
him
they
with their
can wait.
lineup. Yeah,
Because
and he
there'll
works
be
with their little
more
guards.
trades available leading up to the trade deadline. Like all these like Kyrie trades, all these James Harden trades, heck, all these Damian Lillard trades are now Drew Holiday possibility destinations. They're going to be a sweepstakes right now for Drew Holiday. And if you look at guys that are available right now between a James Harden and a Drew Holiday, I think Drew Holiday helps a team win right now more than James Harden does.
And yeah, no, he undoubtedly is going to be more in demand, and not necessarily, he may not be a better player than Harden, who I thought was robbed of an All-Star spot last year, but Drew was an All-Star too. But
Yeah.
he's more, like you said, more versatile, and he helps teams closer to the top, win more. No team is just gonna really wants to hand over their offense to Harden that I can think of, right?
No.
So, yeah.
It'd have to be a team that
Because
is
that's where Harden's value comes from. You have to basically hand over your entire offense and craft it around him, and then James Harden is valuable. And at this point of his career, like nobody really wants to do that anymore.
no. I'd much rather have the defensive ability of Drew Holiday, and he's not a terrible offensive player. He's
He's
not a
really
James.
good in the regular season. He's just fallen off in the playoffs the last couple of years.
We'll see. We'll see. Maybe he takes a step up in the playoffs or whatever team he ends up with. So,
Yeah,
but
hopefully.
finally, we'll wrap things up with the Phoenix Suns here. You have Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, Keon Johnson. Like I said, you just have the big three and a bunch of guys now. So you have Kevin Durant, you have Bradley Beal, you have Devin Booker, now you have Yusuf Nurkic, and whoever you want to start, that's completely up to them. I don't know what they'll do there, but they have a bunch of guys. This makes sense, like I said. It's a downgrade in terms of DeAndre Ayton to Yusuf Nurkic, like we stated previously, but he's going to be a veteran that's going to be out there to rebound. He's not going to sit there and
And he's
sulk
going to
when
commit
he
to
doesn't get
rebound and
touches.
defend. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to
to
commit. He's going to be committed to winning, period. So that's just going to be a much better scenario for not only Yusuf Nurkic, but Phoenix as a whole. Everyone I think involved here is a winner, and that's very rare in trades. But then again, we did say that about the Brooklyn and Philly trade that involved Ben Simmons and James Harden, and now both franchises look like they're losers coming out of that one.
Yeah, well, we were right. It did work out badly for both teams. So
the team that was really linked to Damian Lillard recently, leading up to this trade, was the Toronto Raptors. Shout out to Rylan from Wallet Media. He said it should have been the Raptors. However, now we're getting word that they never seriously offered OG or Scotty Barnes or Pascal Siakam, and I'm just kind of sitting.
they had to have offered someone. How are they getting them otherwise?
Yeah, how else?
They have no other contracts. You got to trade. I can see. They weren't, for some insane reason. The reports were that they weren't willing to include Scotty Barnes in the Kevin Durant potential trade, back when he was in Brooklyn. So maybe they were still holding out, a Barnes from that equation. So I guess, to me, I would have done it, because you pair OG, Pascal, and Dame, with Pirtle. That's a contender in my opinion. But they believe in Barnes' future. But you got to trade somebody. Pascal's contract is up after a year. You at least got to trade him. And obviously Portland wouldn't really want him. So you would think OG and a bunch of picks, and OG and Anunoby is also valuable. I think the reports from Memphis offered like 4 picks. We don't know what quality picks, etc., lower first round or lottery picks, but they offered 4 apparently for OG alone last year.
Yeah. He could definitely be a piece here. But talking about players, let's talk about our boy TC Fontaine, TCF baby.
What's up?
Please say the baby.
Yeah, you gotta say the baby. What's up, man?
What's up, TC?
How's it
going,
going, y'all?
Going, brother? Going
Not
good.
much, man. We were talking Damian Lillard, man. Getting our reactions, talking about details in the trade. Since we have you here, you joining us midway through the stream. give us your thoughts on this trade. You said it happened to you in live time, just like the LeBron signing to LA. So talk about it, man.
Oh yeah, like I haven't seen a Woj bomb since like LeBron in real time. Let's load on my phone. So I'm just like, this is really Woj's page. I was like, it really got done that fast in Milwaukee of all. And you know the crazy thing, Dan Le Batard was on the radio maybe like 30 minutes before that news broke, just talking about like, yeah, he's going to Miami.
I'm telling you, man, they got that Miami like swagger that they haven't quite earned. That they think they're the Lakers, but like they're not the Lakers.
Yeah, fam. Like, so, they lost in the finals like 2 of the last 4 years. Like,
I mean,
y'all got there. Props for getting there, but
right.
Yeah.
No, and they're in the mix every year. Like, there's no doubt about it. But they're not like. Sure. They're not like just destined to end up with the player. You know what I mean? Like they act like, oh no, you gotta take this. We have the best package. They've been delusional, man. Heat fans have been straight crazy on social media.
Tripping.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna have to settle for Drew Holiday, which I mean,
hey,
Drew Holiday fit better in my opinion too. So that's probably what's gonna go down.
If they trade him, what they get for him could be, I think,
it's going to be the Dame package. They're going to get Tyler Hero, Kyle Lowry, and like Jaime Jaquez or something. That's like. They're just gonna.
You know what though? All right. Let's say if they made that trade, I would not hate watching Jimmy Butler and Drew Holiday just on a pure Milwaukee revenge tour, bro. Like just aiming just straight for the Bucks. Like that'd be fun to watch.
Yeah. So TC, tell us your thoughts on Dame to Milwaukee. How do you think? Do you like the move? Do you think it's a good fit there? How do you think about it?
I can't think of a more perfect fit, honestly. Like I think Steph and KD that was seamless, but like this is up there with it too. Yeah. I literally opened my bookie app and I was just like, yo, it was locked though. They locked it quick too. I did it like almost as soon as I seen the tweet from Woj. I was like, hey, I need to put this in because I don't see anybody beating them, especially when they gel together. And then like you forget Chris Middleton's still there. Yeah. Let him get healthy as a third option. It's over with.
Bro, Brook Lopez is a beast, man. Like he's now like this defensive stalwart who can just bomb 3-pointers. And then you forget that man could still post up. He still probably remembers some of that from 10 years ago.
He's got the little scoop hook shot that he still throws in there.
I enjoy like now he barely ever does it. So I really like when he like occasionally goes back to those old like, you know, Brooklyn, New Jersey moves in the post from time to time.
Remember Brook Lopez like was a offensive savant, but couldn't rebound, couldn't defend
defensive
the damn
sieve,
thing,
bro.
And then just like,
he flipped it like the complete opposite. I forgot what coach it was, but there was a coach they had when they were like a playoff contender.
Was it Kenny Atkinson?
No, it was before that time frame. I'm forgetting. It might have been Jason Kidd. I don't know, but like who completely ripped him for like not rebounding, not being able to defend anybody. Like I remember it was public. It was embarrassing, and I was like, now he's like the ideal defender rebounder. It's crazy.
No, for sure. It's wild to see like a player completely flip from what they used to be to what they are now. Like it's complete 180.
Defensive player of the year level, man. If you go back to when the Bulls were playing those Brooklyn teams in the playoffs and said that, they would laugh you out. Like they would commit you, man.
Hey, shout out to Nate Robinson. Made that Brooklyn like
Joakim, bro.
Joakim and Nate Robinson.
Playing on that bad foot. Yeah, he was a beast.
What year did y'all have Rondo?
Oh God, man. Why you gotta bring that up, man? Thanks a lot. That year was terrible.
That was either 16 or 17.
Playoff Rondo. That was the first time.
Rondo.
I started believing in playoff Rondo.
We almost beat Boston too if he didn't get injured. If he didn't get injured, we would have eliminated Boston.
You know, I really thought that playoff Rondo stuff was a fluke. I'm like, all right, it's gonna go away. But then he went to New Orleans and he was still like playoff Rondoing it. I was like, damn.
I didn't really believe it until he came to LA because I think like you get LA, we get so many people that come in and they don't live up. Yeah, they don't live up to what they should be with the Lakers. But Rondo came in and that playoff Rondo stuff was like, yo.
And don't forget though,
this is real.
He was bad in the regular season too.
He was terrible.
That's why playoff Rondo is a real thing. He came around in the playoffs and he like just flipped it.
He did his part to help us get a ring. I have not said a bad word about Rondo since, and I've said bad things about Rondo his whole career.
I've hated Rondo. Yeah.
Shout out to Rondo, man, getting that random ass
redemption.
Love. Yeah,
love
but it. Okay, so it's a great fit for Dame and for Milwaukee. I think this is perfect. Dame has long said that one of the guys he would love to play with would be Giannis because it'd be a perfect complement, a perfect fit. But Giannis also, he was trying to make him his number one pick in the All-Star game draft, realized that he was a reserve and couldn't draft him right away. But he ended up getting
word
him
of
on
mouth
his team.
too.
Yeah.
I have no proof of this, but there's a journalist I follow said he was at a barbershop somewhere in LA like a couple months ago. And Giannis was talking about like wanting to play with Dame.
He's spoken into existence.
Well, he talked about it at the All-Star game too, because when he picked him, like I think they were talking about, and he talked about how good Dame would be, but he wasn't really talking about the Bucks. He was talking about his All-Star team. But I mean, no doubt that's carried over. You know how he felt about him from that.
He didn't even play on that team. He was in.
That's right.
Injured.
That's right.
But he still got that win. So that's
they
a
got
great
rid
fit.
of Grayson Allen. That's what I like.
That's what I said. Now I can root for the Bucks because fuck Grayson Allen.
He can't win a ring. I love it.
Yeah. So Grayson Allen is moving on to Phoenix in this 3-team trade. They get Yusuf Nurkic as well. We said Keon Johnson.
So technically, he's still in the mix for that ring, TC. So
technically, he's in the mix.
No, he's not.
But he's not really. What? How do you feel about DeAndre Ayton being swapped for Yusuf Nurkic? Like, let's focus on Phoenix before we get into Portland stuff.
Yeah.
How do you like Phoenix? What Phoenix did to get into these Damian Lillard sweepstakes and like help facilitate this trade? Because I don't think without them they are able to make this trade happen.
I mean,
financially speaking,
I like it. It gets Damian Lillard out the West. Not that Portland was really a threat to. I don't think anybody in the West. Not the way they're constructed now. We can talk about Portland in a second, like you said. Phoenix did move me with the Bradley Beal move a few months ago, and this doesn't move me either. Like, it's barbecue chicken for my guy AD, and like a lot of other centers in the West. It's gonna be barbecue chicken. They gonna see Phoenix on their schedule and be like, yo, we feeding him. So AD, Sabonis, like just in the Pacific alone, you know what I mean?
Well, what do you think? Like, do you think Nurkic has any shot? Remember, he was a good defensive center when Portland was last relevant in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. He was a really good defensive center. Then he broke his leg. You think there's any shot of him maybe still being able to bring it from time to time if Phoenix doesn't rely on him as much as Portland did?
If you can do that, Frank Vogel, Coach of the Year. Like, if he can do that alone. But
he did pretty good with AD. So
yeah,
that's AD though, man. Like,
yeah.
Different level of talent for sure, but not bad. I said already it was an addition by subtraction. You get rid of DeAndre Ayton, the guy that didn't even want to be there anymore. You get a guy, a vet that's going to actually rebound, unlike Ayton. He's a much better rebounder than Ayton.
He don't got to do much, bro. Like,
you don't got to do much. Yeah, and he's not going to ask for the ball. He's not going to sit there and pout and like complain when he doesn't get touches. And obviously with Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Durant there, Ayton ain't gonna get no touches. That man's fourth in line if that. Like,
that was another issue too. So he gets a. Are we moving on to Portland now?
Yeah. Let's sidestep over to Portland and you can talk about that.
Yeah, he's getting a fresh start over there in Portland. Former number 1 overall pick. I mean, the situation wasn't bad in Phoenix when he got there, but I mean, it's a fresh start for him. He's, I think, a guaranteed 20-10 guy being the man over there. There's no expectations to be successful. You can play all the 2K you want. Clearly, that's a priority in your life. You can play all the 2K you want. I mean, not that much because I don't think Chauncey really gonna be having it for too long. Like,
Chauncey gonna
we
say
need
something.
to grow. I think but they can grow together. They got Scoot. They still got Simons, right?
Anthony Simons.
Yeah,
they still got Shaedon Sharp. They got some pieces.
Yeah, the only thing they really lost, obviously outside of Dame, is Nas Little from their, rotation.
And, nothing. So it'll be fine. No offense to Nasir Little.
No, but it's not. No, I actually think he'll be he's a decent like upside pick for Phoenix. So
Yeah,
you know.
he's solid. He's solid. It's just like it's not a super huge loss. Like outside, I mean,
No,
Dame
he's
is
not
Dame,
part of the next. Like they're not looking to him for 5 years down the road.
right? Dame is also going to be what 34 at the end of this next season. So I mean, it works out for everybody in Portland. They can. I think it's good for Chauncey to if he's going to develop as a coach, he can develop a younger-ish squad.
And kind of
versus
find his voice and his play
right.
calling and stuff. Yeah, over time.
This is beneficial. It's going to work out for everybody. So
sure.
just be on the lookout for Scoot in like 3 years.
Scoot, man. I'm gonna be watching some Blazers games just to see what this team does, because I always love it when the team blows it up, trades their star player, and it's just like a bunch of guys just scrapping because you don't know what to expect from that team.
Right, it's
like,
any given night they're gonna knock off somebody important who's chasing playoff seeding.
Somebody underestimating them or resting somebody, because they do have talent. Like they're young and they're gonna lose a lot, but they still have talent. And you know what? That pick and roll game Scoot can work on with Ayton. That could work out pretty well. Pick and pop
for sure.
Game.
For sure.
Yeah.
You got two guys. Like, well, one guy was the former number 1 pick, and Scoot Henderson, the guy that would have been the number 1 pick if it wasn't for Wemby being available in this year's draft.
And you got a guy who wants to shoot that mid-range pop, who doesn't make sense on that contender, but now he'll get to do it to his heart's content as much as
for sure.
Scoot wants to run it.
You like the pick and roll. Like I didn't get to mention with Milwaukee.
Man,
Giannis pick and roll is going to be deadly.
Before you jumped out,
Dame and Brook.
Think about it. They have so many options. I mean, Adrian Griffin, it's really interesting because remember, they don't have Budenholzer anymore. So now you've got a new coach who is working on a new system anyway, but he has so many toys to play with for his first coaching job. Like you can run a multiple offense. Like you can either run a pick and roll up with Brook and Dame, or Brook and Giannis, or Giannis and Dame, but you can also run multiple pick and rolls. You can stagger them. You can stagger the screens coming down. You can have Giannis come up full speed with the ball, have Dame set a pick, and then have Brook set a pick. Like, it's insane what you could work out.
And you still got Middleton just there, being a menace. You can't double team this team.
Yeah, no,
can't double team this team.
Forget double teams. How do you guard Giannis? You build a fucking wall, like Stan Van Gundy said back in the day, right?
You can't.
You can't build that wall and leave Dame Lillard with like one guy on him or nobody on him. Like, come on.
That dude will shoot it from the logo and hit it, nothing but net. He has 2 walk-off threes. Yeah. He has 2 walk-off 3 game winners.
2 series enders.
Nah. He's
gonna his first playoff series, didn't he?
Yep. The one against Houston. Chandler Parsons, and in Houston.
Shout out to Chandler Parsons.
Oh, Ski Mask Hall of Fame right there.
The big piece here that I mentioned with Bosh was that even if he doesn't get traded immediately, Drew Holiday would be a great fit with Scoot Henderson. He's very similar to a Chauncey Billups when he was playing in the league. Similar play style, similar type of guy. But if they do trade him before training camp, before the start of the regular season, or at any point, he's going to net them a positive haul in return. Where do you think are like big name teams out there that are contenders that are going to be targeting Drew Holiday that is in Miami? Because obviously they got to get in that Holiday Sweet 6 now.
Start it off, TC.
I don't want him in LA. I'm gonna be real with you. I've seen Golden State. I don't think that would what would be the point of that? I don't know. I think it'd be a similar situation like we just seen, like a dark horse. Maybe he go play with his brother. Right, go to Indiana. I don't know, but there's no room for him there either, right?
Is that still where his brother's at? Which I forget.
I have no idea.
I forget which holiday.
I think he's in Atlanta. Now.
Yes, that sounds more right. I think.
There's not a spot for him to go either. So I don't know.
Shout out to Bakley in the chat. He says he could see Drew in Miami. Honestly, that makes sense.
Well, like I said, man, him and Jimmy could just be on that revenge tour and be like, all right, we got one goal, and that is to meet and hurt Milwaukee in the playoffs, man. I could see them doing that.
He could be a landing. He could be a solution to the James Harden scenario where you can work out a 3-team trade to help facilitate Harden going to the Clippers, Drew going to Philly, and then you get some pieces from
the stuff
the Clippers
that Philly didn't want going to Portland. And plus
going to Portland. And you can help facilitate that. And honestly, Drew should go back to Philly because that's where he started his career, man.
I mean, you end the process the way you started the process, right?
You started the process by trading Drew. Yeah, you full circle, man.
But here's the thing, man. So I don't know. Like Daryl Morey already values Harden highly, regardless of everything. Like we know that, right?
Mhm.
Portland isn't gonna want to just trade Drew and get maybe one pick from the Clippers. They're probably going to try to, especially if they're taking on, whoever else that's in that trade, they're probably going to want a second. And Philly's not attaching a pick to James Harden to get Drew Holiday. I don't see that happening. So,
Depends on how desperate they are to make it
dude,
happen.
and you want to talk about the Bulls for a minute?
We can talk about the Bulls for a
Because look,
minute.
man, I've seen this a lot. We're Bulls fans. Me and Vince. TC knows this. So on our social media, it's probably you've seen it explode. Got to trade, and we both love Drew Holiday. I think both Vince and I, when we first met, talked about the Bulls trading for Drew Holiday when he was still a Pelican. The thing is, Drew Holiday currently, I pulled up Spotrac here. He currently makes 35 mil, basically, just under 35 mil for this season. Salary matching rules, unless you're a team with salary cap space, extra space to take it in, if you trade for Drew Holiday, you got to match that salary. The Bulls do not have cap space. They're kind of barely in the tax. Probably will get out of it by the end, before the trade deadline. But that would mean they would have to get, I forget what the rules are. It's funny because we are not anywhere near doing like our NBA preview or anything. So I was planning on looking over the CBA like trade rules and stuff because they just had a new CBA kick in. So I haven't had a chance to do it, but something around like within 120% or 80% of the salary. So give or take 20%. So think about it. The way the Bulls would have to get there, if you can trade either Zach or DeMar and you can reach close to that, that doesn't make sense. And there's people who've suggested it. It makes no fucking sense. No. Like if you trade DeMar, which I'm okay with doing, but then you're much worse. Like Drew Holiday doesn't make as much sense on a team with just Zach and Vucevic. I mean, he still makes sense, but you're not a contender.
You're downgrading on that big three. Like
you mean not even make the playoffs?
No, I think there'll be a playing team with that team. Like the only way
you lose DeMar and add Drew.
The only way Drew being a trade candidate for the Bulls or a trade target for the Bulls, the only way it makes sense is if you still have DeMar and Zach on the team. Exactly. Without it, there makes no sense because the whole point is to replace what Lonzo does.
Dude, the whole point is to add what the team on the floor this year is going to be to make it better enough to actually, be a threat in the playoffs to do something. And you can't do that. So you have to use, if you're not including those three guys, you have to use Lonzo's contract, which is a dead contract currently. So that requires adding more value to it to send it out. Lonzo makes about 20 and a half. So you are about 14, 15 million, let's say call it at least 13 from making that trade work. The only way this works is if you either attach Patrick Williams plus a pick, because Portland's going to want that to take back Lonzo's contract.
Give them back their draft pick.
They're going to want a real. You're going to have to do that regardless. They're going to want a real pick because that pick's fake and that it's lottery protected. So for the Bulls to get it, Portland would have to make the playoffs. They're not making the playoffs any of the next 3 years. Or you could do Kobe White. Kobe White's extension this year is about 11 mil. So you can do Kobe White and maybe one of the lower, like Dalen Terry or something, plus a pick, plus Lonzo's contract at the minimum. I don't know if Portland goes for that. What do you guys think? For the Bulls, for the Blazers, like, does that make any sense?
I'm gonna say this right now. Like, initially, my initial reactions when I saw this trade, I'm like, oh, we should get in on the Drew Holiday sweepstakes. But then I got excited. But then I really sat back and like post-nut clarity kind of hit, and I knew that this wasn't a reality in the sense that the only way to make this happen is to include that Lonzo Ball contract. Yes, you still have like that disabled players exception that they can't include, but they can't even include guys like Kobe White, Nikola Vucevic.
Oh, yeah, sorry. To trade Kobe White, we got to wait until December 15th because he just extended.
Kobe and Ayo, if you want to include one of those two guys, because they would want a young piece. I don't think I want to give up Patrick Williams because you're already short on the front court side of things. As much as I love Drew Holiday, like I'd rather just run it with Javon Carter and
even a straight up swap of Pat Will for Drew Holiday could work, but that would be like that's pretty risky for the Bulls to give up a young player who can. No,
you're giving up a lot. Yeah. And then what if Lonzo does come back next season and he's not. I
would be willing to risk that because, like, at this point, it doesn't seem likely, and especially if he comes back, like, is he going to be anything near the player he was? Like that.
At that point, he'd be running back the final year of his contract, and he'd just be an expiring at that point.
So I'd be totally willing to do that, as much as I kind of like have that stupid Chicago hope that like Cubs fan in me always thinks like something's gonna happen that's good. Like maybe next year, maybe next year.
What
But
about you, TC, man?
yeah.
I ain't even gonna lie to you, man. I don't follow the Bulls at all.
See, then that's a man whose example we should all take.
All right, there you go. We should stop watching Bulls games unless
That's
they
the
prove
advice
us.
to all the
Listen,
Bulls fans out
Chicago
there.
sports it's depressing. Listen, I'm a Nebraska football fan. We got our own problems to worry about. I can't follow what's going on with Chicago.
Yeah.
Like I see what the Bears got going on out there.
Please, let's not.
We won't talk.
That's enough for me right there.
We won't talk about all that. So, last thing we'll say here is the big losers here are Miami. Obviously, they don't get Drew Holiday. They don't get Damian Lillard. They could get into the sweepstakes for Drew Holiday, but they also lost Gabe Vincent to the Lakers. They lost Max Strus to the Cavaliers. They didn't really add anyone except for what? Who the fuck did they add?
Miami?
Yeah.
I don't think
was it?
They added Jay Crowder again, didn't they? No, he's in Milwaukee. Sorry.
No, wasn't it Josh Richardson or something?
Thank you, Josh Richardson. I knew they added a former Heat player. Yes.
The dude they traded to get Jimmy Butler.
Yeah,
he's back on the team. So they significantly have gotten worse. They need to make some.
They're the obvious ones, but isn't the loser every single team that was hoping for a chance in the East? I mean, Philly is SOL now, even with a good Harden.
Boston, RIP Bozo.
Right?
Man, he wasn't gonna go to Boston.
No. But Boston was like the clear front runner.
Yeah, they're not no more.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Well, the minute they traded Marcus Smart for Porzingis, I was like, I don't know how that's gonna mesh. I don't know how that's gonna look.
They would still be like the overwhelming favorite just with the talent on that team and the potential of those three, like offensively especially, paired up with what they already have defensively and with Derek White. The problem is like now you're facing Giannis and Dame. Like, let's just say that again. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard are going to be running on offense together. I can't wait to watch Bucks games. Yo, you said nobody should watch the Bulls. You're right. Milwaukee's like what, an hour and a half or something? We should buy Bucks tickets, man.
Let's drive up to Milwaukee. It's about an hour and a half drive, if that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Other landing spots, I'm just gonna write down some teams. You guys let me know, like yay or nay on the landing spot for the team and for Drew Holiday. The Raptors, they were in the Damian Lillard sweepstakes. Maybe he could be a location.
He could be, but why? I don't really get what Masai's doing out there, man.
Yeah, me either. Okay, like we said,
he's living off rep from like 4 years ago, and he didn't have to do nothing.
He was like the best GM though for a while. Like, did he just win that championship and just like get high off his own supply? Like, start reading all.
That's all it is, man. He be throwing offers that people not gonna take. And
Right.
He's always just trying to finesse somebody. You're not trying
but then
to be
he
honest.
doesn't even make the deal. Like in the end, like what was the deal that he's made? The Pirtle deal? The Lowry deal?
I've seen something earlier, and I don't know, if it's verifiable or not, but he said he wasn't willing to include Siakam, Anunoby, or Scotty Barnes.
We talked about that. That's like, when you right before you jumped on, that's what we were in the middle of talking about, and how that's crazy, and the trade doesn't even work. Like, what are you talking about?
Fucking wild.
I'm saying, he's living off rep from 4 years ago. He got Kawhi Leonard, won a championship. Kawhi Leonard fell in his lap because Greg Popovich wanted to be petty.
He had the balls to make a deal to do something nobody else does, which is to make a deal for a player who said he wasn't going to be there and who lived up to it and left.
Yeah.
But he got a championship out of it, so I give him credit for that. Like
the Blazers wanted Grady Dick, but apparently the Raptors were also hesitant to include Grady Dick.
What?
So
get out.
I don't know what the fuck the Raptors are doing. Okay, so now you look at like Philly could be a landing spot, even if you have to include a third team to take on Harden.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a good solid location in terms of fit wise. I think
they got to be afraid that the Clippers wouldn't just rather trade for Drew Holiday. Like,
what about Houston?
You know what I'm saying?
Houston?
Then what?
I don't know.
I wouldn't say Houston because they just signed Fred VanVleet.
Oh yeah, they did. Huh?
And they still got Jalen Green, so I think they're pretty short up at the guard spot.
They got a bunch of guards.
A team like Dallas, a team like Brooklyn, those kind of teams that could use like an extra piece if they're going to be contenders for those lower playoff seeds, or
I think do you think Dallas, like, it wouldn't make sense to give up Josh Green to do the deal? Like, he's probably defensively almost as valuable as Drew Holiday, like I would say. So
true.
Like, you
True.
know, and so much younger and cheaper and then how do you match salary there? That doesn't make sense. Again, salary matching is a huge thing. Nobody considers that. I've seen all kinds of people throwing in like, oh, you don't have to give up this and this. Yeah, talent wise, that might work. You got to work up to $35 million in salary unless that team has salary cap space. So
Bakley saying interesting Drew and Westbrook, two UCLA guys who played together in college in the backcourt.
yeah. Oh, you know what
I
actually
was thinking Clippers, but I didn't know.
yeah, the other LA team, yeah.
No. I the only way is that if they flip D'Lo for Drew and then they add another pick with the Lakers, but they're gonna have to wait until like December, January to make that
December,
happen.
yeah, like Kobe.
Yeah. So
well, the thing is, actually, the one that is most doable and makes sense, man, is Golden State. I mean, I'm telling you, Drew Holiday makes sense with Steph Curry in that backcourt, and next to Klay Thompson. He provides the
Chris Paul.
secondary ball handling that like
trade Chris Paul again.
Yeah, bro. And guess where Chris Paul ends up? He probably gets bought out, ends up on the Lakers.
That's
Finally,
how he makes his way. He
10
makes
years
his way
later,
to Chicago.
10
Just
years
like
later,
Chicago will be signing all the players there past
all the
their primes.
cast-offs.
Yeah, all the cast-offs.
His jersey will join Melo's in the rafters here at the UC.
No. CP3 got to stay on the Warriors, so that he can have that tandem with Dwight Howard if he makes the team.
Dude, you know where he's got? I said this on Twitter before. I think I said it. I think the funniest thing would be for him to be bought out or whatever, traded, and end up on the Clippers for CP, because that would complete the cycle of hilarious teammates for Chris Paul, like basketball karma coming back to bite him. He's had to play with every person he's hated and every team he's hated so far. To play with Westbrook, that would be the ultimate for insult. For
Who
CP3.
Who starts, Westbrook or CP?
Oh God, I hope Westbrook starts over him. That'd be so funny. That'd be so funny.
Oh my God.
Well, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens with Drew Holiday. But Dame Lillard is finally gone. He's out of Portland. Now we need James Harden to be traded so we can do a team preview and like have an honest assessment of the teams. But before we sign off, TC, you joined us at the end, but we're gonna let you start off. Plug your socials, plug Young Kings.
Oh yeah, Young Kings Wrestling at YK Wrestling, everywhere on social. YKWrestling.com. We got merch. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at YK Wrestling. Follow Vegas Sports Connect on Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube. We out here in Las Vegas, so got Canelo fighting this weekend.
Yep.
Listen, I was around Canelo fans in the same building as Canelo for the first time ever in my life. I don't know when the next time is that I'll be doing that, because that was insane. Shout out to the Aces for real. Aces play I think they play Friday, Saturday, maybe. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'm gonna be watching it. UNLV is 2-1, 3-1, 3-1 this year. So shout out to UNLV football.
This is too much positive coming out for Vegas since you talked about the Bears. I do have to mention the Raiders there. Y'all got some interesting stuff.
I mean, the Raiders are the Raiders. Nothing changes with them.
Listen, we need good things.
There were some interesting Twitter meltdowns earlier today.
So absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Some interesting stuff.
I mean, outside of the Raiders, I mean, everybody, they doing pretty well. Like UNLV basketball got some hype to them. And
that's true.
The Golden Knights' season about to start here in about a week or two. Ring night coming up. Asia Wilson, a beast, got robbed. Did y'all talk about that?
No, we didn't talk about the WNBA MVP.
No, we didn't get to that.
Oh, listen. I'll get on my
She has 2 MVPs, doesn't she? So
she does.
It's cool.
Yeah. Should have one more.
Finals MVP is more important. I'd rather have.
Yeah.
There you go.
Especially once you already got a couple regular seasons.
Bosh, you want to plug anything? Chi-Care?
Yeah, definitely, man. Everybody check out chi-care.org or look up Chi-Care on Instagram. It is just great. They actually we've had so many volunteers. They haven't even needed me recently, man. We have so many people showing up to help out, pass out food. We had too many people sign up for the Thursday blue line pass handouts, but we need more, of course, all the time, because there's migrants. I mean, there was something like 37 buses of migrants came into Chicago recently over the weekend or something. Yeah, something insane. Well, they're being put up all over, so people are providing food, clothing, those basic toiletries, whatnot. You can donate, or you can just check out the Instagram and check out the webpage and see, can you volunteer? Can you help pass stuff out? Maybe organize in the warehouse in the suburbs, whatever you got to do. Check it out, get some inspiration on how to help the people. Winter is coming up too, so that's going to be real important, man, with all these people up in the streets and unhoused, and with all of the kind of fluctuation in people's stability and circumstances, man. We got to get ready for the Chicago winter.
For sure. They can be fierce. As for me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SESvince. Link to in my bio takes you to everything of the past Straight Talk content. We still have the archives up there. Go ahead and check out past episodes. The current call was up. We did NBA Jersey Jam session. That shit was a blast. Shout out to JLan on the beat, always making the beats for everything we do. And last, like, comment, subscribe right here on YouTube, youtube.com/SESvince. Might change the handle down the line, but you should still subscribe, turn on the bell notification so you know when we go live to talk more basketball. Well, for that being said, for TC, Basharat, and myself, we'll catch you guys on the next stream. Later, y'all.
Peace.